are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock. It is Sunday, May 12th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Eric Lindquist. We are brought to you by Better. And spoiler alert, we have a 2-game slate ahead of us. It's been the same sort of thing we've been doing every day, basically, for the last week and change. I'm excited for one of these games. I could care less if the Knicks and Pacers continue to play basketball. I think everybody's probably feeling the same way there. But Denver Mini tonight at 8 o'clock, going to be a good time. Going to be a tough time for Eric as he watches Denver tie up the series. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow us both on Twitter. How's your weekend, man?
I was going to compliment you. I was going to start the show by saying that I pulled up the post-contest generator and I was looking at the top sim ROI lineups, and it would just so happen that Jay Engleman is up there at the top. So Josh Engleman, if you guys didn't realize, top 10 yesterday in the main event. So good stuff. Tied with Steve Buzzard, which is always a good thing to be, because generally speaking, I think that means that you tied for first. But I am pretty impressed by this little performance that you put up yesterday. You want to tell the people about it?
Yeah, I barely know it. I didn't do a show for it. I just played the lineups. I did pop on live to playback for an hour yesterday, middle of the day. Got to hang out with Emac and Greg a little bit. Honestly got a little lucky. It could have been a really big day if I had SGA over Luka, but I had Luka over SGA. But I got the Tatum piece right, the Brown piece right, the Donovan Mitchell piece right. If I flip-flop those two other pay-ups, though, I could have had a couple other live bullets, but I had a couple break free. And it was nice to wake up to, because I did not know that was the case at all last night. I found that out at like 4:30 this morning. So that's always fun.
Dude, awesome job. Was going to compliment you, but then you were a dick to me. So I decided not to do it. So there you go.
It happens. It happens. This is a weird slate today. The Knicks are obviously exceptionally shorthanded. Indy might be feeling themselves. Denver coming in off of a win in Minnesota. The home team has not won a game in that series yet. I'm fascinated for the basketball here. Knicks and Pacers are a much more interesting, I guess, piece of DFS talking. 450% ownership to that game, 350 to the late game. And everybody from Minnesota is basically 30% owned. Here are the numbers of the 7 main guys from Minnesota's rotation. This excludes Kyle Anderson and Monty Morris. This is just ownership. Doesn't matter who I say. 24-38, 27-32, 23-33, 29. This is all just a range of 23 to 38%. Oh, they're all basically the exact same dude. So talking about Minnesota should be interesting. Are you ready to talk about this one?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Benny Tingman says, how dare you? New York Indy has been a great series. Yeah, but it's like a series that means nothing, because no one cares who wins that series outside of Indiana and New York, because all they're doing is just playing to find out who gets to lose in the conference finals to the Boston Celtics.
Yes, that would be correct.
Yeah. So
anyway. Unless we're going to start hanging banners the way that the Lakers did for the in-season tournament, we could see like an Eastern Conference Finals banner being hung in Indy or in New York, I suppose. But that seems atrocious and something they shouldn't do.
Well, let's talk about the pay-up options for today, which is a very unique experience and goes hand in hand with the fact that we don't really have pay-down options. No one sub 4K other than Isaiah Jackson is pulling more than 10% ownership. Now, the $4K to $4,400 range is inundated with 20 to 30% owned dudes, but the bottom, not the same like we've seen over the past couple days. We have Nikola Jokic at 11,200, center only, most expensive guy. He's $1,600 more expensive than Jalen Brunson. Brunson at 9,600. Anthony Edwards is in at 9,200. And then it's Halliburton at 8,600, who has had a bit of an awakening these past 2 games. As you look at it, who is your preferred pay-up option?
First guy I'm getting to is Jokic. So he's in 48% of my lineups. I'm actually pretty flat at the top yet again, but he is somebody that I'm pretty overweight to, and everybody else I'm not really. So Jokic, 7% bust percentage, 27% ownership, 31.4% optimal percentage. And the Sims tool, it would appear with a lot of these mid-range Knicks that you can get to, Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, McBride. Those are my 4 highest owned players. And as such, I just have the money to be able to go get him. If I'm not going to be jamming the likes of Edwards, a little bit underweight too, Brunson, a little bit underweight too. Find it pretty appealing to get to the guy that is probably going to ruin my life tonight.
I'm under the field on Nikola Jokic. I do find him difficult to get to. I would not mind at all getting to him. He has the highest ceiling of any player on this slate, and it is not even particularly close. I think the ownership up top is fascinating. 27, 27, 24, and 23 to those top 4 guys. It's basically a choose your own adventure. They're all owned the same relative to salary. The guys that I have the most of are Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton. Feel pretty good about the Halliburton piece. If he can continue to play anything remotely close to what he's done over the past 2 games, it's going to look a lot better. He had 30-something real points last time out. If that is in the cards and he's scoring like he was earlier this season, 8,600 is a preposterous price for him. Whether or not he could run that back out there again is, we shall see. But maybe it's just helping out that the Knicks are a little dinged up. I have a little bit of Brunson. I have 16% of Jokic right now, 16% of Brunson. So they're not like total zeros for me. I did have to bump Jokic a little bit. But I'm getting just more of the lower pay down side than the upper pay down side. But I really don't have much of a preference. If I rank these guys based on salary, Brunson, Edwards, and Halliburton are all dead equal. And I have Jokic basically a half point ahead of them relative to salary. But the fact that he's center only, a little bit more limiting for him being able to get into my lineups. I really like when it comes to the top, I don't have much of a preference. There are 2 guys on this slate that are heavily owned that I also think are the absolute stone cold nut plays for today. And I'm getting to them. Everybody else is just sort of like in and around the field and hoping for the best.
You're paying up for these 2 stone cold nut guys?
No.
Like we're talking.
No, they're the ownership plays for today too. Dante DiVincenzo is 60% owned. Yep. Isaiah Hartenstein is 60% owned. I don't know how you get away from either one of those dudes.
Yep, I have 90 and 80. 90% of DiVincenzo, 80% Hartenstein.
I have 80 and 90, but same principle. We'll talk through what those guys are and why they look as good as they do in a little bit. Do you have anybody in that top tier of Jokic, Brunson, Edwards, and Halliburton that you actually just like don't like? Not even necessarily from a DFS standpoint, but like, are you nervous about Halliburton? Are you nervous about Brunson?
I'm nervous about the fact that I had 16% Halliburton in the Sims tool on my first run. I gave him a little bit of a bump, probably similar to what you're doing with Jokic, where I have so much Knicks exposure. It would be weird not to have something on Indy that isn't just Miles Turner, who I have too much of probably as it stands right now. And TJ McConnell, I think coming off of a floor game there for him, I'm happy to go to the well there. I was underweight pretty heavily. He ended up like north of 60% in like the $4 and the $20 and stuff in the last run. He's still going to be a very popular piece, sub 5K. I kind of like getting to, when we're talking the sub 5K pieces, I like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniels quite a bit. I think that's going to be kind of like my Minnesota exposure. Cat is sub 7K, but he's pulling quite a bit of ownership. And I would say Ant up top here is making me a little bit nervous as well. I'm underweight to that. He was somebody that I was pretty aggressively over last time. That was kind of like a forced play of sorts. And of course, it just did not go well in any way, shape, or form. But neither did Jokic, really.
No.
It was not an ideal situation that entire game. Period, full stop. Or though I guess it was good for the Jokic in Minnesota one, but even at 67 or something, it was like that I had Ant attached to like almost all of those lineups, and that was a problem. But amongst the spend ups here, I said for me, I have just over the field Jokic a little bit under, but not like I'm fading anybody here.
Okay. And I think that's sort of what it should be at this point. I don't really see anything where you're just like, I can't get to that guy at that price today at the top. Like there's a reason they're all owned the exact same.
I mean, with all these other pieces of New York, I am very fascinated coming off of the floor game for Jalen Brunson to see where that ownership lands. We have him at 26% and then 20% optimal. That tag has gone up. And now we saw the first reduction here. It drops from 9,800 to 9,600 for today. He didn't look entirely right, but, that can flip on a dime. We saw that with Halliburton now where, hey, a couple of days here or there can make a huge difference in your recovery. And it's not like we're living in their bodies and know what they're feeling or what's ailing them or things of that nature. Everything's disclosed to a certain point, but not really. Jalen Brunson, 9,600. How much of him are you getting, considering you and I obviously feel the same way about these other Knicks?
I have 16% of Brunson right now. I just have, I think Anthony Edwards is just a little bit easier to get to positionally. I have Brunson projected a little bit better. I think the position is really helping out on the Edwards side. What I wanted to see is I wanted to open up this 7K range now. 7,500 for Murray, 7,700 for Siakam, 7,900 for Josh Hart. They're all basically the same, in and around 35% owned. Hart and Murray a little higher, Siakam a little bit lower. One of these dudes is essentially not in my lineups. Care to hazard a guess?
Based on the way you said that, I think it's going to end up being Siakam.
It is Jamal Murray.
What the okay, so this is the back and forth that I've had all morning, was seeing Jamal Murray, who was like, what, 15% out? Like, everybody basically said he was in shambles. He comes off of a good game and his price drops $300. And now we're seeing the popularity come back in. And different whistle to a certain extent in that game. Obviously, things were a little bit tighter than they had been the first two games. And, he continues to potentially get healthier. But, like, these are all just talking points as opposed to looking at the data. I think Jamal Murray is probably somebody that is getting too much ownership relative to what his, like, you go to game 3 and just kind of, he was projected around 37 and a half. He was sitting there with 15% ownership, and he was 7,800. So he was more expensive. It just had a lot of things going against him. But I am curious to, if there were like 2 guys ownerships that I could get above 6K before the game started today, I would want to know Jamal Murray and Jalen Brunson. They're both point guard only. And Tyrese Halliburton, I feel like you could get to as much of him as you wanted. And I don't think it was necessarily a mistake by any means. It's the better game environment by 15 points. It has been a price that if you had gotten it earlier in the season, definitely pre-Pascal Siakam, if you had gotten that $8,600 tag on Tyrese Halliburton on any slate, he would be massive chalk. He just was smashing that routinely. But I do think the Jamal Murray one is a little bit heavy for me, but I don't know. It feels so weird coming off of him looking healthy, having the $300 reduction to his tag. Pretty much everything is driving me nuts about him today. So I currently have 30%, but I was kind of in line with you where it was just like, yeah, I just shouldn't play this guy.
Yeah, I was surprised to see it. I think it's just a positional thing. It's a spot to find a little bit easier value. I'm obviously getting to Tyrese Halliburton at that same position a little bit more expensive, $1,100 more, because I'm at 50% of Siakam, which I'm pretty happy about. Just not having OG Anunoby out there is going to, at some point in time, really unlock Pascal Siakam. And then I'm neutral to Josh Hart.
Yeah. It unlocked him last game. I mean, that was
but I mean, like, unlock him, where,
okay.
like, because you had Halliburton being available to score for once now. If Halliburton has to, like, take that back seat, Siakam can then take over now and not have to worry about being hounded by arguably the best defender in basketball on the perimeter. Josh Hart, I'm neutral to the field for. Like, he's going to play 46 minutes, upwards of 48. If he continues to rebound like he's a center, everything is just going to be fine in terms of a high floor option with Hart. So I don't have much to add here there for Josh Hart. Did you want to touch on anything else 7K and above?
Yeah, I mean, Siakam, that was my main thing. He was nuke of the night. It felt too obvious to just jam Pascal Siakam without OG Anunoby out on the floor. He only played 31 minutes, had foul trouble. Still put up nearly 40. It was still okay. Obviously not what I wanted, but you put him in for like standard minutes here in this spot. Things look pretty appealing to go back to the well to a certain extent. I guess the Jamal Murray thing, I'm just going to continue to think about here in the last 45 minutes. We have plenty of time to work through some different things. I already have my lineups. I thought I had a pretty good feel of the slate and like firing stuff up. And now I'm working through other pieces of it and maybe finding some room to get some leverage in some different spots. Hasn't really been a lot that's changed here. I guess it's just kind of making sure that your lineups not tell a story. I think that's kind of like a dead phrase to a certain extent. Like, this isn't Showdown, I suppose, where you play the blowout narrative or something like that. But like, for me, if I'm going to be playing a lot of Jalen Brunson or something, I feel like I got to play a lot of Halliburton and Siakam. If I'm going to play Anthony Edwards and Jokic to get, like, it feels like I'm looking for like the back and forth competitive spot here. We had some weird games last time out with Jalen Brunson hurt, going to the locker room, doing the thing, comes back out, ends up, finishing out pretty strong. But, it's been a weird series for both of these teams, all three road teams for the Denver, Minnesota one. But from a DFS perspective, I'm just trying to find positive leverage where I can, and you have it available to you in the boom bust tool with Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, and Nikola Jokic. And so finding ways to try to get to at least one of them is definitely important, I think, today.
I think the most important thing for today is figuring out who the exotic play of the day is. I think we know who the answer is going to be, but we got to lock it down right now. Who you got for the exotic play of the day?
I'll go Jokic. I think it's got to be Jokic for me here today. I don't know why it would be anybody else. Like TJ McConnell is popular, and I think he's a good piece of value, and I'm happy to embrace it a little bit more today than when he was 50% owned and then ended up north of 60. Boom percentage still pretty low on him there, but yeah, I definitely. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo is so popular that I'll just kind of let you rock with him if you want to go that direction. But I'll go to Jokic as the contrarian piece there. I mean, we saw in Game 3, the guy is just ridiculous. He is a 3-time MVP for a reason.
I can't count Isaiah Hartenstein any longer, although a couple weeks ago I would have. Not anymore. It's got to be one answer and one answer only. TJ McConnell season, 40% owned. He's in 40% of my lineups. It's 4,800. He seems to just go absolutely crazy every time he's out on the floor. And while the price tag is a little scary, 25 fantasy points is the goal. And that makes TJ McConnell today's white of the night. All right. We got a lot of super chats to touch on. We're going to go to Darren Ungers first. Favorite FanDuel plays. Pull up the old boom bust tool.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust. A little bit different. FanDuel is fucking just bleak with, doesn't matter what side you're playing. You're going to see insane chalk on New York Indy, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 players there, New York Indy, Jamal Murray kind of mixed in there as well. I ran this. I'm going to stall for time. Just give me 2 seconds. And Aaron Gordon, that would be the next guy showing up here. Aaron Gordon, 37.9% ownership. Got him in 50% of lineups there. I think that has to do with the power forward situation. Pascal Siakam. Looking at Jokic, got less of him, even though there's positive leverage coming up there. You're only playing one center. I think that is probably why. Anything that really stands out to you, difference between DK and FanDuel?
Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, 2 highest optimal guys. Hartenstein is 3rd. So that's Nick, top 3 optimal dudes. And it's not even 2 of them are showing positive leverage. Nemhard has some pretty sizable negative leverage. Might be a guy I'd be trying to get away from on the FanDuel end. Highest positive leverage guy, Miles McBride, 26% optimal, 13% owned. Might be a nice sneak play depending on what you're getting into.
Very sneaky, sir. Very sneaky.
Brian Peel, love y'all. Favorite pick 6 plays for Knicks and Pacers. Do you have any pick 6 stuff going on today?
Sure do. There's a couple of pretty decent ones. The first one that caught my attention was Miles McBride, 14.5 fantasy points. What do you have Miles McBride for from a fantasy point perspective today?
A lot higher than that.
Yep. It is the
17.5.
Yep. I have him at 18 and change. Miles McBride, 14.5 fantasy points is kind of my starter piece for just about everything that I'm building on over there. I think Hartenstein is pretty low there as well. He is at 32.5. Isaiah Hartenstein is at. But considering they're both Knicks, you got to play something else here. We don't, in that pick set, have the combined pick sets. They don't have Minnesota and Denver attached to it, so they're as individual games. So you got to find something else. I'm rotating a couple of different plays. I like less than 1.5 steals for Tyrese Halliburton. And what was the other one that I was throwing in there? Yeah, that's a good start for you right there. So those 3, they're really good building blocks. I kind of just rotated, $5, $10 cards like around multiple times around those main pieces.
Super chat from our boy, Ace of Spades. It's tiers time. Jokic, Brunson, Halliburton, Edwards. We can go ahead and skip that bad boy.
It's dumb.
It's so silly. It's so silly. Murray, Siakam, Towns, and Hart.
Hart.
That is Hart. Gobert, Turner, Porter, Gordon, DiVincenzo.
Turner.
DiVincenzo.
Oh, DiVincenzo. Sorry, I didn't hear the last one there. I'm a liar. DiVincenzo by a lot.
Yeah. Conley, Hartenstein, Reed, McConnell, Neesmith, Nemhard.
Hartenstein.
Yeah, not close either.
Nope.
These are really cut and dry. KCP, yep. Precious, Obi Toppin, McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, McBride.
Well, now we got different. Did you say Neesmith in there? Heard Neesmith.
That was the last one.
Name Neesmith. Nope. Cool. Great. Nemhard.
Nope. That was the last one.
Fuck me.
KCP, Achua, Toppin, McDaniels, Alexander-Walker, and McBride.
Okay, then it's
McDaniels
KCP.
For me.
KCP, I have it 20.
That one's tight.
Yep, that's we found it as actual talking points. That's fun.
And now the best of the rest: Slow-Mo, Reggie Jackson, Burks, Christian Brown, Isaiah Jackson, Monty Morris, Ben Shepherd, Justin Holiday.
Alec Burks by a lot.
Isaiah Jackson for me.
Okay, I'd be actually fine with that.
And then final super chat that is in at this point, Brandon Wagner. I keep ending up with 3,200 left on DraftKings. Does Justin Holiday get same minutes in non-blowout games? I have Justin Holiday projected for 16 minutes, 8 fantasy points. I don't have a single share of him in a lineup right now. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to go to him, though.
No, it's not crazy. He played really well. I know that he only had, 2 or 3 shot attempts in that game. Watching it. See, 4 shot attempts, 3 threes. He made 2 of them. He played good, but Justin Holiday has never been a good fantasy producer. He's always needed minutes, and you're not going to really run into more than 20 almost under any circumstances beyond a blowout like we saw in game 2. If you're really chalky everywhere else, and this is the only guy that fits into your lineup, sweet, but don't expect a whole hell of a lot out of him. Isaiah Jackson's a better play straight up. Same number.
Yeah. Yeah, not close either.
Yep. So play Isaiah Jackson if you can. That's just the better play.
Sign up for NBA Sims Max if you can. For a week, you could use the promo code Edwards and get it for $20. It's a hell of a deal. Honestly, I'm overselling it. It's cheaper than $20. It's $19.99. Way better than the 20 that I just mentioned. You get projections, ownership, the contest generator, lineup generator. You get the post-contest simulation tool. You get the sim itself, access to premium Discord, the boom bust, and I'm sure I'm leaving some things out. $20 to check it out for the week. We have basketball every day. It covers Showdown as well. I used it yesterday and finished 8th. I'm sure Steve Buzzard used it yesterday and also finished 8th. Different lineups, I might add. So we were just so awesome that we couldn't help but combine our powers into the 8 spot. So if you guys also want to join us in the top 10, the Sims tool would be the way to do it. Promo code Edwards, because it's Anthony Edwards season right now. You enter that when you're signing up for the NBA Sims Max weekly package. It is $19.99. Who are your favorite GPP plays for today? This is where it gets a little weird. I've got one guy that you'll be happy about. I'm not happy about it because every time I play him, he isn't good.
So TJ McConnell?
No, not TJ McConnell.
Okay. I have the 62% Miles McBride at 19.9% ownership. So that'll be a fun one.
I have 38 and I felt like that was a lot.
Yep. I'm playing tons of Miles McBride. I think it's more likely that we saw Alec Burks close and we saw some pretty good minutes from him overall. We still got 29 minutes from Miles McBride there in that spot. And I think that there's more room for him on the floor than Alec Burks in a lot of situations. They ended up taking Isaiah Hartenstein off there at one point in time. And, Burks is still going to play enough to be viable. Don't get me wrong. He's 3,800 still, which is different than you're talking about 3,100. But I think for Miles McBride at 4,100 is that you're basically getting the same version, the same, like, if he runs hot, you're just getting more minutes. And like, I just don't think that they really want to throw Jericho Sims out there for many minutes. They don't really want to throw out Alec Burks out there for 20 minutes if they can help it, unless, he's knocking down shots like he was. 14 points from him was a little bit of an outlier, I suppose. But I like getting to McBride at 4,100. I just don't see a ton down here. And again, I am playing more Jokic. Got to find something that isn't just TJ McConnell. KCP doesn't look all that crazy good to me, but the boom bust tool was really, really a fan of throwing some Miles McBride into my life, as am I.
Miles McBride is my 5th most over the field guy right now, so I will join you. Isaiah Hartenstein is my number 1. I don't feel like talking about him as a GPP play is correct because he's 60% owned. Similar story for Dante DiVincenzo, who's my 3rd most over the field guy. Number 2 is the guy that I said that you will be happy about, even though I get this guy constantly wrong. $4,200 Jaden McDaniels is 33% owned. He is in just shy of 60% of my lineups. It's a position thing, I think, more than anything else. The minutes are certainly there. He is live to get in foul trouble. He's also live to not take a shot. But, anything north of 20 fantasy points is probably going to be good enough for you at this point. Maybe he can have an outlier defensive day, grab a couple extra defensive stats, make it easier for the lack of scoring. But Jaden McDaniels appears to be my preferred GPP option, just ahead of Miles McBride.
Yeah, it's also a 2-game slate, and sometimes 4,200, but Jaden McDaniels is going to get a lot of court time and had foul trouble last time, keeping everything in check there. I'm with you. I currently have 40%, so okay. So I'm barely over the field there, but he definitely fits into lineups easy. We'll get into the Naz Reid thing, I think, later too, because I just once again have 0%.
Go for it.
0% of
him. You have 0. Okay, so that's going to be a fade for you. I didn't think you were going to tell me 0. No. I'm neutral to the field. I wouldn't mind not having him though.
I have 0. I had 0 last time out too. I just don't know what happens if. Gobert plays tons for a reason. He's the defensive player of the year. You still need to have him out there. And we saw that minutes reduction down to 21. There's really no rebounds to be had when you're sharing a floor with Cat, with Rudy Gobert. It's really, really tough for me at 4,600 to click on Naz Reid. If you were 4,300, 4,200, we're talking about a completely different human being. But since this, the game 1 of Phoenix, he was 7,200, which was a mistake. And obviously Karl Anthony Towns was just getting acclimated. He, I believe, made his debut in that Suns game coming back the Sunday of the regular season. That was the last game of the regular season. And then it was the 4 straight games of just reducing that tag down to something normaled out. But 4,600 is still kind of wrong for somebody that I have in for 18 minutes. I'm under on the minutes. I think he played a little bit more last time around. Gobert wasn't with the team there for a couple days. Obviously didn't play in the game 2. Cat had foul trouble because he always, gets in early foul trouble. It seems every time we have a game at home that matters. Jaden McDaniels was in foul trouble. Like for me, I find it hard to believe that we're not going to, like, Naz Reid probably has the room to get to 22, 23 minutes if he's knocking down shots, and then I'm probably in trouble. But even still, it's like, he has to really get there in terms of scoring because he's not adding a whole hell of a lot else to your portfolio otherwise. And I just kind of prefer everything else in the range, which is weird to say about the guy who's 6th man of the year and obviously has a massive upside.
Yo, we're live for the lottery right now.
What?
The NBA draft lottery is right now.
What?
Yeah. We're going to find out who gets the first pick while we're on this show.
That's
right
fun.
At the end, actually. Yeah. The most important information here is going to be whether or not the Raptors keep their pick. If anybody behind the Raptors jumps them, then they lose their pick and it goes to the Spurs. And then the Spurs are looking at something in the 7, 8, 9 range to go along with wherever the hell they land.
So Spurs could like double up 1-8 or something like that.
And if Brooklyn wins the lottery, no matter what happens to the Brooklyn pick, it goes to Houston. So a real kick in the nards if the Nets win the lottery.
That's fun.
But yeah, the other big one is the Spurs are live to end up with the first pick and the 7th pick.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun. I mean, I want so badly to have the Spurs be in like win now mode next year, which requires both of those picks. Like probably both those picks. They've got, you said all the, like I had asked you that before. They have all the money to spend in all the land.
They have
You
the
add
future Hawks picks coming up too as assets if they want to try to make any sort of like
Trae
that
Young
sort of
move.
trade.
Yeah.
The team
Well,
that I want to
DeJounte Murray
win the
would be
lottery the
epic.
most is Memphis.
I would too. I mean, Memphis could just be flat out good right from the get-go then, which
I mean, they're going to be loaded next year. If they get the first pick and trade it, which is what I would expect them to do in that scenario, I'd be very curious to see what they could end up with putting together that sort of package. Because they have no incentive. Like if they get the first pick, they have no incentive to bring in the first pick in this particular draft, but to build around Bane, Morant, and Triple J for next year, along with anything else that they could possibly need. That's the team that I want to win it the most because I think it changes the game the most.
Yeah, that's a fun three guys to have out on the floor. I mean, I wonder how many minutes they even shared a floor together this season coming off of 2022-23, where they obviously shared a boatload of minutes and looked fantastic together. Brandon Clark, coming off the Achilles, he ended up getting better, played like limited minutes at the tail end of the season. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces in Memphis that could be fun.
Let's take a quick peek before we continue to look at this slate. Why? I can't get the Memphis dropdown to populate on PBP
Carlos
stats.
Santana 3-run home run. Thank God. Oh, these Twins were trying to kill me. They were getting blanked by Manoah, and that was not an enjoyable experience.
Manoah? Did the Twins get relegated to a beer league?
No, 23. Twins are 23-16 now. I think they're tied or one back of Cleveland now. Out of the middle of nowhere, we won 12 in a row earlier, and then we got to face. This is Alek Manoah's second start. First one didn't go well. His second one was going outrageously well. I think he's only at 77 pitches through 7 innings, but just gave up a 3-run shot to Carlos Santana. So we're up 3-0 now. I'm happy.
Did he play the guitar on his way around the bases? I like Carlos Santana. Anyway, 181 minutes. Great. Triple J, Morant, and Bane shared the floor this year.
Unbelievable. Isn't that unreal?
Nuts. It's nuts.
Unreal.
It's totally nuts. What I want to know, though, is who's the most nuts play today? AKA the guy that blows your nuts off of your body. Who is the nuke of the night?
So, friends, remember, when we're talking nuke of the night, it's got to be somewhat contrarian. It's hard to talk about it from an ownership perspective when you have 80 and 90% of Hartenstein, DiVincenzo, when you've got plenty of TJ McConnell, when you have plenty of Josh Hart, when you have plenty of, all of those popular pieces, you got to find something there. It has to be Miles McBride. He's the one Nick that isn't pulling the kind of ownership that I was kind of expecting coming into today. And I think the minutes are just more secure than they've been for him in a while. Obviously, this is a better series for Dante DiVincenzo. He's been knocking down shots ad nauseum, which helps him stay out on the floor. Oh, we got the graphic going now. There it is. Now it's going. All right.
Kaboom. Kaboom.
There. Yep. Goodbye to it. I'll just make it quick now. Miles McBride, nuke of the night, done.
53 minutes ago, we got the tweet that said, OG Anunoby, hamstring, still not running yet in rehab, limited to pool work. Well, considering this isn't water polo and it is the NBA, OG Anunoby is not going to be there today, which means Pascal Siakam at 7,700 is your nuke of the night.
So he just took mine from last time, and now he's going to not get in foul trouble and completely smash. So
that's the goal here.
Congratulations.
That's the goal.
I mean, I love Pascal Siakam today, so it is what it is.
I like it. I like it a lot. The only thing that I like better than that is better. BETR. Slightly different spelling. $500 deposit bonus if you make that deposit. They'll match anything up to 500 bones. This is the spot to do it, folks. I talk about Odd Shopper a lot. If you need more plays, Odd Shopper is going to hook you up on the better side. You could 100x your entries if you correctly select your top 8 picks on better. Oh, it's so exciting. NFL, NBA, which NFL, by the way, is going to be here sooner than it seems. NBA, MLB, NHL, and more. Whatever you're looking for on a pick'em site, Better has you covered. Now, the legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But what I really want you to do is sign up at Better, and then sign up at OddsShopper so you can get additional plays. We have a Better optimizer that'll just take all of the best lines that exist, build out your card, and give you the link for it. You can't ask for anything easier to do if you're playing on a pick'em site. But the key piece for all of it is to take advantage of that deposit bonus. Don't leave that money on the table. If you have the ability to make that deposit, do so. Halliburton, Nembhard, Neesmith, Siakam, and Turner. Shocking Indiana Pacers lineup. In theory, I guess the Knicks could do something different. I don't expect
they
it.
didn't. We just got word Precious Achiuwa is starting.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That'll do it. That'll do it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about Better. We've already talked about Anthony Edwards. We got to talk about fades. You got into a little bit on Naz Reid. Are you fading anybody else? I will say this. You just mentioned Precious Achiuwa starting for the injured OG Anunoby. Precious Achiuwa on my last run was in a crisp 0 of my lineups.
Yeah. So I just reran stuff and it would appear I have 0 Jalen Brunson. So congratulations to him on another 65. I need to change that before a lock. I probably will here. There's a couple of these Isaiah Jackson, Miles Turner lineups that I need to clean up here as well. Not fading either of them for what it's worth, but we got the same starting 5 here. Precious, how much Precious did I end up with? I ended up with 35%, so I'm not on board with you there. I mean, in a perfect world, like you run back, Precious did not play nearly as much as I think we or anyone anticipated there. There were a lot of ways that I thought he would play into 30 minutes or something of that nature. And Alec Burks was the 100% reason that did not happen. Precious 22 minutes. I mean, maybe they go extreme small ball again, but that would be a disaster for me, taking Hartensteiner off the floor, trying to do something like that. So either way, Precious Achiuwa going to be somebody that I just am right at the field, a little bit over on potentially. Ooh. Yeah, he's at 32%. Yeah, 35% of him. So I'm not there with you there. I am completely down on Jalen Brunson. So cool. I now have 0. Don't know what I'm going to do to change that here in the next couple of minutes. Anthony Edwards, I'm a little under on. Michael Porter Jr., 6,600. Why am I not getting to him? I have absolutely no idea, but I currently have 10% of him. So I'm cutting the field in half there in 40 lineups. Feeling okay, actually, about that. I suppose, you can't play everybody, and I strongly prefer the Knicks like everybody else in that 6-7K range. But yeah, the ones that stick out to me the most, absolutely no Jalen Brunson, which didn't exist before this show, but now is. And now also seeing if there's anything else here that's really standing out side by side. Aaron Gordon, I'm neutral. Nembhard, I'm neutral. Toppin, I'm a little over on 14%. What are you doing with Alec Burks?
I have 0.
Okay, I'm in line with you there. I am worried that he ends up getting crazy popular, and I currently have 0 as well.
I hope he does, I guess, and you just hope for the best of a guy that, like, Tibbs very clearly doesn't enjoy playing. I think it's got to go perfect for him for it to, like, really actualize. Now, at 3,800, he needs 20 fantasy points. Like, that can happen. But I think you need the best laid plans of Burks. So I have 0 Precious. We'll see what that looks like when I run. I'll refresh everything in about a minute or two. I'm very light on Jamal Murray. I'm more than half or less than half the field on Mike Conley. And then those 3 are like my big 3. Murray and Precious are on their own island when it comes to my fades. Mike Conley's pretty close. And then Jokic is actually the guy that I am 4th most below the field of anybody that I have. Terrifying.
Jokic, wow.
Terrifying.
Not there with you on that one for sure.
Yeah, I get it. But look, like we talk about this a lot. It's going to be pretty hard to look at Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, and Nikola Jokic and be like, well, I'm over the field on all of them.
Yep.
So
Very true. Very true.
I don't
For
advocate
me,
for it.
Miles McBride, this is just, I just already see what's happening. I see this. I'm just going to get Tibbs. Like, Tibbs was the most reliable person ever when it came to minutes and throwing dudes in there. And now it feels so wonky because it's like everybody's jamming the certain guys, the Josh Harts, the Hartensteins, things of that nature. Even Hartenstein has some downside based on what we saw for the closing lineup, but I think most of the time we're going to keep him out on the floor with Miles Turner. So I'm not that worried about it. He's also 6K, played 39 minutes. Like, there's really no reason to panic or worry. Yeah, this is just going to be terrifying. And Jamal Murray, wasn't Jamal Murray the guy that you said number one?
He's number two behind Precious.
Number two. Okay. Yeah, Jamal Murray is terrifying as well. He looked much, much better. There's no doubt about that. But in the spirit of can't play everybody, you can't play everybody. So there's that. I'm just looking at how many Knicks are in every single lineup here and trying to see if there's anything I can get away from. I just don't think you can. I just don't think you can today.
That'll do it. Lots of Knicks around these parts. I have 500% as of right now of that first game. We'll see what that ends up being. I'm doing my final refresh now.
Yeah, me too. Minutes. And the positionality just makes it so easy to get to everybody. That's the other part that's like, oh, if there were a situation where we didn't have point guard, shooting guard for McBride, small forward, power forward for Hart, shooting guard, small forward for DiVincenzo. I mean, these dudes are just so damn easy to land on.
They really, really are. All right, so I just started my run. Yep. We got some time. So what else should we hit on here? We talked about our fades. Who is the Amber Heard play of the day? Who's most likely to take a dump in your bed?
Yeah, Miles McBride. I could see ways that he gets to 20, 21 minutes, but it's kind of priced in. I'm willing to roll the dice on just getting those consistent minutes. If Jalen Brunson's limited to some extent, that probably helps, where, there's at least minutes here, minutes there, where if they can get him off the floor in the second quarter and it's close, they'll do it. They can find ways to just have Miles McBride out on the floor a little bit more and not have it be Burks. That would be useful as well. I think that's the priority thing, because that's what we've seen the entire way until Alec Burks shows up and knocks down shots one time. And we'll see. I am very curious to see what Alec Burks' ownership shows up at, because I think he'll be higher owned than the old 5.6%, but not entirely confident, because, I mean, you're just already playing a lot of Knicks as it is. Like, it's impossible to get away from playing lots of this team in any capacity. And so, you can't play 6 or 7. So there's no doubt that Alec Burks, I think, gets trimmed most than the other guys, but it is a slate I am very confident. Same thing that I said before game 3, where you just want to have lots of DiVincenzo. You want to have lots of Hartenstein. And I know Hartenstein was the guy that killed me and a lot of other people last time around. That's one game. I'm not going to freak out too much about it.
I don't know. DiVincenzo to me is the hardest guy to get away from today. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility, barring any injury at this point. He's playing 42 plus minutes. Could very easily play every single second of the game in this spot. I have his target score at like 35 fantasy points, so it doesn't even really take anything crazy. He's certainly going to be getting his shots up. Any limitation to the Jalen Brunson offense is going to result in Dante DiVincenzo looking for his own shot. If you've checked his usage rate over the past few games, the 20% that he saw at the beginning of the playoffs is now up to around 30. Just a very different dude in this series against the Pacers. Barring injury, because of that position and price, he's the one guy that I look at. Like, I can't avoid it. My Amber Heard play of the day is Jaden McDaniels. That dude is as live as anything could ever be to take a shit in my bed.
Yeah, just depends how active. Is it Scott Foster today, I believe, in Minnesota? I saw we got the Tony Brothers Scott Foster treatment, which is like the NBA coming in with the big guns to make this a 2-2 series. I just cannot. I just cannot.
Should be fun. How nervous are you if Denver wins tonight?
Extremely, because, mainly because if you give us 3 cracks at beating Denver once, twice in their building, I think there's we'll be favored in game 6, no matter what. like we would have to really get stomped again today and stomped in game 5 to not be favored in game 6. And that feels like being able to know that you have a game 6 at home to close it out would be an amazing feeling. Being able to maybe close it out in Denver where, you push it to the limit, especially because, Dallas and OKC looks bound for 6 or 7 games as well. Like, to be able to have the leg up on rest would be huge. God, I would be extremely nervous, obviously, too. It's the defending champs. It's the best player on planet Earth in Jokic. And, we're extremely talented. We have the pieces, but a lot of what we're doing defensively, we got ourselves a little bit hand in the cookie jar where we thought we could do the same type stuff, and Whistle was a little bit more sensitive, threw off the rhythm. McDaniels, Cat, early foul trouble. Like, we got to really, really hunker down. It's going to be a nerve-wracking thing no matter what way you slice it. I'm straight up not going to be having a good time from 5 to 7 no matter what the result of the game is. I'm just too nervous.
By the way, everybody, hit that like button. 1,100 people in here, only 130 likes. We should be up over 200 by now. All right, I just got my run done, so now I can actually take a peek at what this is going to end up being. I'm a little scared. I'd like to see the Precious and Jamal Murray ownership come up just a hair to go from, oh, I want to die to, okay, at least I have a couple bullets just in case this goes the wrong way.
Precious starting is just hard. Also, for the people playing pick six, I'm going through all my pick six stuff. He's at 17.5 fantasy points. I think having some game stacks and then some actual, just throwing the fantasy points in routinely and hoping that it stays competitive for all of those core guys. I think that that's a really solid way to do it. There's a couple of plays that if you're going into the optimizer over on Odd Shopper, which again, you guys can have access to, there's a couple of unders for specifically for Tyrese Halliburton. Rebounds 4.5. That's grading out pretty well. His points 22.5, sitting at -151 is true odds. That's a pretty good one as well. But there's some ways of just taking Tyrese Halliburton fantasy points along for the ride, or Miles Turner along for the ride, and having some of those 5-6 stacks. I've had some really good payouts. I posted a couple of those slips where it's $25 you can turn into over 650 just by having a game that goes for a 240, 250 total there. And I think that's always live when you're talking about the Pacers. And now without OG and Anunoby out there, it only helps.
I'm not liking the old exposures right now.
I was letting you finish it all up. So how much Precious did you end up with?
Haven't gotten to that point yet. As of right now, just raw, I have 12%, which is better than the 0 that I had. Jamal Murray is in 2% of my lineups.
Okay.
I think now what I have is going to be what I have.
So go not Jamal Murray. I'm a big fan of that. That seems
basically a lock button on DiVincenzo and Hartenstein, which is a little scary.
Yeah. It totally makes sense. It's really the only reason that you're doing it is that you're trying to be extremely different. I see no way out of playing tons of them because we've seen it a number of times this postseason that we expect something to be 70, 80% owned and it comes in at 55 or 60. And the Precious play, regardless of the result last time out, he was the right play, sim ROI out of control. You just wanted to be jamming Precious and there was nothing away. The prices just haven't adjusted to guys who are playing 45 plus minutes a night, like Hart and DiVincenzo are.
Man, these exposures. How much time we have? All right, we have 9 minutes. We got a ton of time.
Yeah, you got forever.
I'm going to keep what I have right now, and then we can take a discussion. Guys, get your questions in right now. Steve, I see your member message. I'm going to hit on that in a second. I just want to make sure that I get these lineups uploaded so I don't feel like I'm making a gigundous mistake. Did I not save that? Nope. That's why it didn't show up. See, that's why you do these things without having to worry about a time crunch. All right, perfect. All right, Steve wants to know, last guy in, DK, under 4K, big tournament, Isaiah Jackson. He's the only guy getting any love at the bottom. He's the only guy that I have sub 4K. I don't have a single share of anybody else below 4K.
Yeah, he's the only one who should be getting love for what it's worth. I can't see a reason to play anybody else. If you go to Holiday and you say, hey, he's going to beat Jackson straight up there, it's like a 80-20 type outcome, and I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, right now Jamal Murray and Precious Achiuwa are still my biggest fades. I have 10% of Precious. I have 6% of Jamal Murray.
Good Lord.
I have 38% of Ant. I have 38% of Halliburton, so I can handle it. 40% of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 36 of McBride. Having just trouble getting to that guard spot for Murray.
Yep, and TJ McConnell and Halliburton, everybody. It's just a. I'm with you, Jamal Murray. Again, it sucks.
Ooh.
I got.
Oh no, sorry. I saw Hawks get a top 4 pick. Nice. I didn't realize it's moving as fast as it is. Atlanta and Houston jumped up.
They got the good draw. The good
I
ping
think
pongs.
so.
It's fun.
Spurs jumped. Atlanta's in the top 4. Houston's in the top 4. San Antonio are in the top 4. Pistons, I think, fell out of the top 4. That's brutal. Hornets fell to 6. Okay, Wizards are the other top 4 team. All right.
That's the team I'm cheering against the most, because anybody who trades for Jordan Poole, they don't deserve nice things.
I want to... It's on ABC. That's a tough beat for the Pistons, man, and to fall from best odds to the worst possible spot. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a 50-50 shot of that happening, but still. So San Antonio jumped. If Atlanta jumped, which means Toronto loses their pick, which means the Spurs get that pick. So the Spurs had the dream scenario. They jumped, and they're going to have 2 picks in the top 7 or 8.
That's incredible. Let's go. I'm very much cheering for them, because I would love to see Wemby play meaningful basketball at the Olympics right into next season. Like, that could be... I mean, we're watching already somebody that we would all argue is like one of one. Like, he's a one of one basketball player. We might not see somebody like... You can say it about Giannis and Jokic to a certain extent, but like, Wemby is 7'4", and it's like, I would love to have a team get built right now around him and see what happens going into next year. They can turn a lot of assets and, into something, potentially maybe trade a pick and maybe go for it this year. But it's going to be, I'm definitely pro Spurs getting good things right now. I say that now as a Minnesota fan, knowing that, like, I don't want them to be that good, but there you go.
Bridgeline being wrong again in chat. Pick 5. Nice. This draft sucks. Pistons going to get a steal. Dude, you're the only person on the planet that thinks this went well for the Pistons. It couldn't have gone any worse. They had the number 1 odds of getting the top pick, and they fell as far as they could possibly fall. That couldn't have been a bigger disaster for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, it's
so bad.
Not good
it's
for them.
So bad. It's 2 years in a row that they've tumbled out of the top of the lottery. This is an absolute opposite of a dream scenario.
Yeah, they are truly in shambles. Like, there's nothing good that could possibly come out of anything that happened to them that isn't them getting a top 2 pick.
Yeah, it's so aggressively not good for them.
They should just be relegated at this point. We should just start a franchise anywhere and just start over. Like, open one in Vegas and get rid of Detroit.
I mean, Vegas is coming. They're not going to get rid of Detroit, though.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, your camera's off.
I saw that. It's just being sensitive today. It's being sensitive, like me.
We got about 4 minutes to go before we get on out of here. Oh my God. Okay. The Pistons, worst record in the NBA, will be drafting 5th. It's the 6th straight time the team with the worst record didn't get the first pick. Which isn't surprising. I mean, the odds of getting the first pick are 14%. So. And I don't really give a shit who wins, because it's all random at the top of this year's lottery anyway.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having like 2 lottery picks, but there's no like elite life-changing talent at the top of this. Somebody's going to end up good. Like, all that talk I hate when there's talk of like, oh, this draft sucks. Because what people mean when they say this draft sucks is there's not a Victor Wembanyama at the top. No one on the planet is like, oh no, the 10th guy in this draft is worse than the 10th guy in other drafts. We don't have enough knowledge to know what a draft is down the line. So I actually like the idea. If you've got like the 6th pick and the 11th pick in this draft, I like the idea of potentially or like wanting to acquire a pick in the lottery is probably cheaper this year than it is in other years based on just the way people are thinking about it. I actually think this is the best time to zig when everybody else zags.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the luck-based factor when it comes to Wemby getting that, like, that obviously changed the Spurs forever. Like, going forward, the next 10 years, 15 years as a Spurs fan is different because of one outcome. But like, there are so many players, whether it's like a Kawhi Leonard within the Spurs or, these guys that come from like, there's still so many shots you're able to take.
Number 1 pick.
No way.
Hawks, Wizards, Rockets, and San Antonio Spurs.
Wow. Projected top lottery picks 2024. Let me take a look at who we got here. Alex Sarr. I don't even know who that is.
You're not going to know who any of these people are.
So who takes Bronny James?
Nobody that matters.
I'm just curious how, like, knowing that your dad would come, or knowing that his dad would come to play with him wherever, I'm just curious what that means to another organization. Depends on the organization, depends on a lot. But like, I'm looking at this: Alex Sarr, Ron Holland, Zachary Rasacher, Mattis Buzelis, Rob Dillingham. So Rob Dillingham is a bucket with Kentucky. That kid was ridiculous. I really liked him. Obviously, Kentucky got the early exit, but he was like a 6th man for them. And every time he'd step on a floor, I was impressed with him. So Rob Dillingham, Kentucky, that'd be a fun one.
Sarr and Trey going to be a problem. Yeah, Trey's not going to be on the Hawks. So I guess you think Sarr is going to one of those other teams in the top 4?
There's that. I think producer Jacob just said something that I think would actually be really, really fun to see. Zach Edey with Wemby, just have 2 7-4 guys in the middle. Just take Twin Towers to a whole new extreme.
Oh, man. Atlanta Hawks win the lottery in a year where no one gives a shit about winning the lottery. 1 year too late.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Unbelievable.
So the Nets would have had the number 3 pick in the draft this year, but now it is in Houston. The Spurs pick up the number 8 pick thanks to the Raptors. The Thunder have the number 12 pick because an embarrassment of riches is never enough. And then the Blazers end up with the Warriors pick at 14. So the Blazers pick 7 and 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fun run out. That's actually a fun run out because, like, I don't know, like I don't know anything about like this draft class here. Like, I really don't, the way that I knew everything about last year's because I was so amped up for Wemby. But Atlanta, Washington, they don't deserve nice things. That's a bummer. And then Houston, we saw how well Houston played at the end of the season, and Fred VanVleet, it wasn't as seamless as it could have been, but like Houston getting a top 3 pick is obviously pretty fun too.
I'm really curious what they do. Do they trade it? Do they? I don't know what they're gonna do.
Package it with something and ship it off because like if you add something to VanVleet, Green, Şengün, when does he get back? I guess that's kind of a question mark for them too.
I don't know what they're gonna do. Do you just do you go Dillingham and go, crazy, turn the keys over to him and Jalen Green in the backcourt?
Yeah, Dillingham is basically Jalen Green though. So you're and I think they already have that in a little bit in Cam Whitmore. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
That's
They're
kind of
probably going to take Sarr, right? That just seems like the most.
Yep, it's hard. Again, I know a number of these players, but again, I don't know the top prospects the way that I knew him from last year. I just know Dillingham pretty well from just being kind of obsessed with him early on. And Yeah, he is basically Cam Moore's a poor man's Cam Whitmore, actually a skinny Cam Whitmore, and then he's just basically Jalen Green. So it would be pretty tough to envision them sharing a floor successfully together.
Well, we are done here, man. We are locked, which means we're going to get on out of here. I'm going to go watch some basketball.
Let's do it.
What are we cheering for here in this first game?
I don't care. Go Minnesota.
Go DiVincenzo, go Hartenstein. After that, go
Miles McBride. Yeah, please, Miles McBride.
Don't go Denver Nuggets, apparently. I have 50% of the Denver Nuggets, so it seems as though I'm cheering for your Minnesota Timberwolves.
Godspeed us.
The jinx is on, man. The jinx is on. All right, everybody. Good luck today. Enjoy your basketball. I will talk to you later. Eric, we'll talk to you later. Thank you to Better for being the sponsor. We're out of here. Enjoy your Sunday. Peace.